I'm very proud to be launching this election manifesto on behalf of Sinn Féin. It is based on a broad Republican platform of citizenship and equality. And we know that some of the objectives in this manifesto, particularly in relation to the huge turnaround that's needed in our health services and in our education system, will take time. But we see this as an opportunity for citizens to invest in the type of Ireland that they deserve, and that is an Ireland of equals. There's an awful lot of despair. Each of us have been canvassing. There's an awful lot of despair out there, a lot of distress. But it's really, really important that everyone rises above this very understandable emotion. This mess can be sorted out, but it needs people acting as citizens to take a stand, to come forward, to use their votes. And this manifesto of ours does point a way forward, a better way. We're the only party which have stated very, very clearly that we would reverse budget cuts, specifically to public services, social welfare and the minimum wage. We would abolish the universal social charge, and we're also seeking a mandate for the root and branch reform of our political system, for the protection and creation of jobs, and through that stimulus, the regeneration of our economy. We're looking for an end to the two-tier health system and education system, for the proper use of our natural resources and the common good, and for the continued support by government and others of the peace process and the Good Friday Agreement. So this is the broad basis of our manifesto. Pearse will deal with the issues in relation to the economy, Caoimhghín will deal with public services, and Mary Lou will deal with the whole issue of political reform. We've also put together practical, costed steps which connect and seek to bring citizens together so that we can correct the awful damage which has been done to our society, to our people and to our communities. It's been done by an awful government and by those who have committed to this so-called austerity policy, the Fine Gael and Labour people particularly, who hope to cobble together a government if they get a mandate in this election. All of them appear to be blind to the social consequences of what they are doing. But there is a better way. There's a ballot piece far, and this document and the election of Sinn Féin TDs will represent a step change for the future.
Well, in this election manifesto, we set out how to put Ireland back onto the road of recovery. And as Sinn Féin members are out canvassing across this state, the singular issue, the biggest issue out there is the issue of jobs. And we all know that since 2007, since this government, the government of Fianna Fáil and the Greens took office, 300,000 people have been made unemployed in the Irish economy. In recent weeks, we've had the RSI telling us that about 100,000 people in the period of 2 years will leave our shores and will emigrate. And this is more than at any stage during the Depression or Recession of the 1980s. So we aim to tackle this crisis through our job stimulus plan, through investing €7 billion from the National Pension Reserve Fund into a plan that will create jobs over the next 3.5 years. Ireland faces into a year in where the exchequer deficit is 18.7 billion, and it is absolutely crucial that we close this deficit, and Sinn Féin is committed to doing just that. However, you can't close the deficit if you don't grow the economy, and that is where Sinn Féin differs from the other political parties, and we will tackle the job crisis through our stimulus plan. The government's plan, outlined in their 4-year plan and endorsed by Fine Gael and endorsed by Labour, is a series of austerity measures and austerity budgets that will continue to deflate the economy. The reality is that if cuts worked, then we wouldn't be in this position that we're at today. And the simple position is that cuts do not work. Sinn Féin stood alone from the political parties last November in arguing that the consensus for cuts and that closing the deficit within 4 years was impossible. We said that we would deliver a plan that would close the financial deficit in 6 years, and we welcome the fact that some others now are coming along to our position. We're committed in this manifesto to reversing savage cuts introduced in the December budget, and we will reverse measures such as the universal social charge, which are impacting severely on people out there in the real economy, and measures that we're also taking in last December's budget in relation to social welfare. We don't believe that the poorest in society should pay for the mismanagement of Fianna Fáil and the Green Party in government. Rather, what we do believe in is that those who can pay more should pay more to help us build our economy.
One of the purposes of Sinn Féin's proposals to stimulate jobs and growth and to repair the public finances is to ensure that quality public services can continue to be provided and can be developed and improved. Our public services are now under severe attack because of the wrecking of our economy by the outgoing Fianna Fáil Green government and by its predecessors since 1997. Health and education services are being cut back savagely. It is those who do not have private means to fund healthcare and education for their families who are being hit worst by the cuts. Healthcare and education and housing are basic rights. They can only be delivered equitably to all our citizens when we address fundamental inequalities in Irish society, and that is what Sinn Féin is about. The public services are the people's services. Sinn Féin deplores the efforts to demonise public servants, to blame them for the economic crisis, and to pretend that slashing public services is the way to recovery. Fine Gael's election slogan, "Let's get Ireland working," make no mistake, they still, despite that slogan, want to get rid of 30,000 workers from our public services. They claim they can do this without adversely affecting frontline services. And that is nonsense in our view, and presumably the Labour Party is prepared to accept it. Sinn Féin believes that we must restore the ethos of public service. Successive governments have colonised the upper echelons of the public services and the semi-state bodies with grossly overpaid executives. Their standards are set not by service to the people, but by competition with high flyers in the private sector. Therefore, Sinn Féin would cap all salaries in government, in the public services and in the semi-state bodies at €100,000 per annum. The savings will be diverted to frontline services. Our commitments going into this general election and presented in our manifesto here today include a new universal public health system for Ireland that provides care free to all at the point of delivery on the basis of need alone and funded from progressive taxation. We would fund health in the context of reformed taxation and a progressive economic strategy. Fewer bureaucrats and more frontline health workers. An end to the two-tier health system and to public subsidies for private health care. Invest all health funding in the public system. A return to free education. End the system where schools are reliant on voluntary contributions from parents by raising the capitation grants to cover the real cost of running a school. The creation of 500 new teaching posts and the reduction of class sizes to 20 pupils per teacher. And transform the rural postal network to make rural post offices a one-stop shop for a range of services including postal services, banking services, council services and citizens' information.
I think it's fair to say that in addition to the issue of jobs and the economic crisis, that a very core question that's being asked amongst the electorate and being observed by the electorate is the political response by the political class to the catastrophe that has come to so many people's homes. I think it's fair to say that there is a very deep anger, particularly amongst those who bear the brunt of austerity and cutbacks. Anger at the fact that they don't see a similar level of pain being levied on those that are elected to represent them. Not alone is our economy broken in this state, but politics is broken and we need to fix it. So in our manifesto, we reiterate our call for an end to the kind of mercs and perks culture that has pervaded politics in this state. We reiterate our call for a cut of 40% to ministerial salaries, 20% for TD's salaries. And we also say that the chairing of Oireachtas committees, for instance, should not bring with them additional financial reward. This should be regarded as part and parcel of the duties of a person elected to the Dáil. We propose the abolition of the Seanad as it's currently constituted. We propose changes to the electoral system, how we elect people to the Dáil. And we also address the issue of voter participation. I think this is absolutely critical. It would be tragic, particularly at this election, if people were to take a decision to sit this one out. We know for a very long time that we have issues in many communities in terms of getting people out to exercise their democratic franchise. So we want the issue of how we register people to be looked at again. And above all, as we say in our manifesto, we want to rebuild confidence in the democratic institutions and confidence in those who are then elected to those institutions. Sometimes it comes as a surprise to people when we tell them that it's the practice in our party, in Sinn Féin, that elected reps take home the average industrial wage. And I know from talking to people out on the canvas, on the ground, that they find that a refreshing approach, because for once they see in practice rather than in rhetoric a commitment and a view from politicians that it is not about the financial return, it's not about mercs and perks. Sinn Féin is obviously an All-Ireland party, organised on a national basis. We're a united Ireland party, and the manifesto equally makes calls for instance, the meeting of the All-Ireland Parliamentary Forum, the Consultative Civic Forum, and that a minister be appointed to oversee, to manage and to plan for the reunification of our country.